Happy New Year to you. It's the new year and we made it. We made it to 2019. So crazy. I remember when 2018 happened, I felt like I couldn't, 18 just never fit. But this year I'm just like 19 on everything. I'm like, I've never been so welcoming of a new year than this year. But we made it, and if you made it 2019, then you were tested with some truths, with some beliefs, and some tests. I don't care how strong, how positive you are, or who you are. That year was insane, insane. So this year, I'm just like, I just feel like I can breathe. I can breathe this year. But I kind of wanted to talk about that, this year, and how everybody gets so excited for this new year. It's like, oh, it's a new year. We get to start over. Everybody's posting their positive, positive post. Everyone's having that self-love and that self-talk, and it's great. And then all the people that have been doing it all year, they're so excited because more people understand. But there doesn't have to be a but. I don't know why I said but. There's no need for but. But okay, apparently that but wanted to come out. So I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is that, so when we come into this new year, we get so excited and we're so motivated and we're feeling like everything's a fresh start and we can start fresh and everything's new. And that's perfect. That's great. There's nothing wrong. You can start any day of the year that way. And I just want to remind people that when we do have new beginnings and new fresh, it's because we had made a choice to end a cycle and something that no longer is serving us to our higher good, which means that we had some recognition of some behaviors, we had some recognitions on some truths that we were saying and some beliefs that we were saying to ourselves, and somewhere along the way we were tested on them, and it created a new perspective of what that is. So going into the new year, we have set some goals and some things we want to change and to see, and that's beautiful. When we do those changes, like I talked about in my first video about change, is the acceptance. We need to learn to also, with that, forgive ourselves. So anything that we were, and the behaviors we did, and the experiences we had or were shown, we need to forgive ourselves. Because to be able to move forward, that forgiveness has to come in. We have to have unconditional love, and we have to have forgiveness of self. And forgiveness of self is not easy, because you have to recognize things, you have to take ownership for it, and you have to literally just release and surrender and just be like, okay, I might have eaten all those donuts all those years, and now I can't fit in my pants, and I stopped working out, and I stopped giving myself love, I cheated on 15 people, I stole from my friend, I gossiped, I don't know, whatever it was, whatever experience that happened. You have to take ownership and forgive, and that's the most liberating thing that you can do for yourself. It's the way to move forward. It's the way to have those goals be accomplished, and those dreams, is you have to forgive yourselves. And sometimes it doesn't happen in this lifetime. Sometimes there are other lives that we have to forgive too. But that's a whole nother topic that we can go down later if that is needed. But I just wanted to remind people that when you're setting up these new goals and you're setting up this new year, be realistic. Be super realistic. Someone's like, oh, you want a date? And I'm like, yeah, I work 12-hour days Monday through Friday. I go to school, and then I do photography, and then I do tarot readings, and I do this, and I spend time with my family and my friends, and I still do self-care and self-love. And sometimes it's sacrifices, sometimes you learn, you got to learn the new flow, right? And new things come and go. And so dating is something that I would like to experience. You know, I have been dating. I've had some interesting dates. Literally had a legit stalker. That was fun. And I had some people that reminded me of certain things that it's like that self-reflective of when you date someone, like how you think you forgave yourself for something, and then you go into an experience and you realize, okay, I guess there were certain aspects of that I still needed to forgive myself for. And that's kind of where I was just a few months ago, like just relearning. And you know, I had to heal. I had a lot of stuff to heal, and it was the best thing ever. You know, I go on these dates and people are like, I've been single for 6 months, and I've been single for a few weeks, and I'm just like, I've been single for like 5 years. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, you're healed? Like, you're ready to move on? Like, that took me 5 years to like move on and to heal. Like, okay. You know, but sometimes like you go out there and you think you're ready, and then you have an experience and you're like, okay, you know, that's kind of like the gym. Like, you're like, I'm ready for this. And you go to the gym and you're like, I'm really out of shape. Or like, you know, you start detoxing something and you realize, whoa, I was eating a lot of sugar and carbs. Like, that's crazy. And then you have to forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. And, you know, my friend was like, you should talk about positive bad relationships. And I was like, well, that's kind of fresh for me right now. Literally, I just had a stalker experience, so it's like kind of like, I don't know, it's pretty fresh. And but during that time, like, I got to learn a lot of things I didn't think I could learn if I didn't have that experience. And I realized like how far I've come as a person. And that's the beauty of growing. That's the beauty of forgiving yourself, is you put yourself in situations and you're then being tested of your reaction. And that's the beauty of when you learn that you forgave yourself or not. And we can't be afraid of putting ourselves in situations. Like, yes, be wise. Like, don't put yourself in a situation because, like, oh, she told me to put herself in a situation. Like, I mean, use your wits. Your wits, not your tits. But anyway, but you know, we have these experiences and we have these relationships that they at the time might seem very, like, you know, if you didn't have a toxic relationship, how would you know what toxic relationships are or they're not? Like, if you didn't have a healthy one, how would you know the difference? Like, sometimes you have to see both sides. Like, you know, people that are in like drug rehab, you know, they got to experience the side of what it's like to be that, and then now they're on the other side of learning the opposite experience of it. And then that's where you try to find your balance, and like, okay, from this experience I learned this and this. And the same thing with relationships. Like, we go in there, we want to blame and we want wrath and lust and all these things, and we forget along the way that, you know, that's the perfect time to see something in somebody else, what that might be for us. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that person's like very, like, I went through a codependency thing where I was like, well, I'm not this, like, I'm independent in that, but it's, things are subtle. And I kept attracting like these guys. I'm like, wow, there's like a lot of codependency. And I was like, why do I keep it, like, why is that like around me? And then I realized, well, maybe there's some codependency things that I'm still holding on to. Or, you know, that's just an example. But there's certain things, like, we go into relationships, and the thing that like drives us crazy the most, it's probably because it's something within us that we haven't forgiven ourselves that was about us. And a lot of things happened in our childhood. And so, sorry, I'm like trying to see what time it was. I want to like keep this going. But just, I want to wrap this up. But I'm just saying that when we go into this new year and this new beginning, it could start whenever. It doesn't need to be January 1st. But if it has been your new beginning and you're starting over, learn to forgive things. We can't be perfect all the time. We have to find why we're experiencing things, why we're having those reactions, why is it around us? Like, why are we drawn to that? Why when we're around this person we feel drained, and vice versa, like, we need to learn how to have that unconditional love for ourselves, and that means we need to forgive ourselves. It means we love without conditions. It's not, if you do this, I'll love you then. If you start looking like this, then I'll love you. That's conditions. There's no conditions. This is all unconditional. And forgiveness of self is something that you need to have unconditional love for yourself. So I wish everyone the best new year, the best week, the best day, the best moment, the best month. Like, sometimes it takes moments for it to get things in motion. And then once we get things in that forward motion, then we keep moving forward, and, and the test will come, and the influences will come, and the motivation will start to, and that's where perseverance, that's where your true strength comes in. That's when that true inner power comes in. That's when all those things that you were tested in last year comes through, and you realize that how you react in those new situations of the new year. So those little tiny things, those victories, that's what we need to keep our mindset on, all those positive aspects of an experience, okay? So go into the new year, look at the positive aspects. Even if you went, you had 5 coffees and now you're having 2. That's a huge growth, huge growth. You weren't flossing your teeth every day and now you flossed it once a day, or once a week, whatever. Those little tiny baby steps is what we need to stay mindful of and what we need to keep pushing through, because those little things will make a big impact in your life. So be proud of how far you've come and how far you're going, and in the moment, be proud. So forgive yourselves. Anyway, much love and light. Bye.